Welcome to the Year of the Movie podcast, the podcast where we talk about movies from the year of the movie 2023. We're your hosts, and we started this podcast because 2023, so long ago, was kind of a wild and goofy year for movies.
You could say that.
You had bad movies. Like, we'll get to it. You had interesting movies like 80 for Brady, Strays, 65.
The Retirement Plan.
The Retirement Plan. You had good movies.
Like
Barbie.
Barbie.
Bottoms.
Yeah.
Holdovers.
Yeah.
Linoleum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this movie.
Which is not one of the good movies. What is today's movie?
Today's movie is called Hitmen.
Hitmen.
And that is not to be confused with the other various movies called Hitmen or Hitman.
Or
that we will,
Hitman.
Or the Hitman.
It's not the Glenn Powell movie.
It's not.
It's not the other 2023 movie called Hitman.
Yeah, I've got a little...
It's Hitman.
A little section. But if you like this podcast, please consider supporting us on Patreon, reviewing and or rating wherever you get your podcasts, following on Instagram, subscribing on YouTube.
Ringing that bell.
Ringing a bell. Any bell.
Give us a thumbs up.
In real life.
And speaking of hits, this episode is going to be quite the hit because it's our last episode of the year.
Yeah, this is it's going to be our holiday break.
Yep, we're beginning a holiday break.
Yeah,
it's going to be like 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, because if we stick with the every other week schedule, then our next one would come out on Christmas Day, and that doesn't feel right.
No.
So we'll be back in January
of 2025.
The other year of movies.
I don't know. I haven't really seen what's going to come out in 2025.
No, I haven't either. So maybe. But for now, we'll talk about Hitmen.
Hitmen. What is this Hitman about?
God. Michael Hero.
Wow.
A powerful CEO seeks vengeance for the murder of his grandson by offering a $1 million bounty to find his killers, attracting the world's leading assassins to the task at hand.
Mm-hmm.
What were your first impressions when you heard about this movie?
Oh boy, cannot wait to watch this terrible movie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this movie was just... I was scrolling through services trying to find 2023 movies.
I think it was on Peacock?
This one's Peacock.
Yeah.
And it came up, and I watched the trailer, and I said, oh yeah, can't wait to watch this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's about what my impressions were.
Mm-hmm.
This is just one of the ones where there are a bunch of movies that come out in a year, and there are the big ones like Barbie and Oppenheimer that you hear about, and you're like, also there's hundreds of other movies, probably, and this is one of them.
Yep.
So we get to talk about it, because boy, what a ride we went on. I did do a trailer breakdown for this, because the trailer also has narration, and the narration is constant through the movie itself. So I wanted to get a little taste of that. And then the rest of the movie synopsis, I had to construct from my mind, and I did not remember much of the plot. So I figured this is a good way to get like a solid foundation of what this movie is. So, a man punches a younger man and then it freeze frames and a narrator says, "Life is a collection of individual moments that can alter our lives in the blink of an eye." And the flashes show that there's a couple that beat up a young man and he died from his injuries. We cut to Eric Roberts in New York telling someone that he's placed a $1 million bounty on the couple's heads in revenge for killing his grandson. Eric Roberts sends people to meet with Don Salvatore Piazza, not Pizza, which I want to say every time, who says he'll send his best assassins after the couple. There's several shots of assassins answering the phone, with Piazza telling them about the money. Lots of quick cuts of guns being loaded before a title card reading, "When you're worth 1 million dead," before showing one of the hitmen approaching the couple in a grocery store, and the police say they can offer very little protection. There are more cuts of assassins with guns and a bomb before another title card reading, "You don't have long to live." There's a hitman with a chainsaw cutting through a door, then shots of the couple trying to get away as an assassin says, "You can run for now, but you can't hide." There's lots of guns going off and a car explosion before the title cards introducing the actors with the biggest credits, Eric Roberts being the first one. And then it's all cut between punches and more guns going off. There's another title card that says, "From the award-winning director of the Bezonians and original gangster," and then a good 10 seconds of people just shooting guns before the music, or like to music, before the movie title Hitmen comes on screen.
So, if you like guns...
Yeah. And Eric Roberts.
You might be thinking, wow, that's pretty impressive. They got Eric Roberts.
No, I've got some stats on his IMDb.
It's not impressive.
Should we talk about the rest of the cast of this movie, though?
Sure. Along with Eric Roberts playing Michael Hero.
Michael Hero.
We have Daniel Caltagirone as Luke Loveday. Lois Tallulah as Lauren Loveday. Elijah Rowan as Danny Hero, Ronan Summers as Paris Hero, Bentley Kalu as The Major, Marco Leonardi as Don Salvatore Piazza, Lucas Aurelio as Justin Villain.
Keep going.
Charlie Rawls as Tony, the Atomic Bull, McCall. George St. Pierre as the Reaper, who is probably the biggest name. I mean, Eric Roberts is more well known.
Well, the next one
is Adam Deacon.
Yeah.
As Bob Black.
Yeah, and there's
because he's the BAFTA.
Yeah.
Yeah. So many other assassins. Yeah. Eric Roberts. Oh, sorry, that's.
Well, yeah. So Eric Roberts is Oscar nominated. Adam Deacon has a BAFTA. George St. Pierre is a UFC champ, and he is also in Marvel movies. Yeah. So it's not like a bad cast. Like in terms of stats, that's pretty good for a movie that is what this movie is. But yeah, for Eric Roberts, he currently has 750 previous roles in IMDb listed and an upcoming 101. And 37 of those are from 2023. Mm-hmm. So if we ever need to scrape the 2023 barrel, we can just go to Eric Roberts' filmography and see what we missed. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe actually, how about 2025 is just Eric Roberts?
God. Listen, we already have one podcast that's going to continue for eons. I don't know if we do another one.
If you also want a really good Eric Roberts film, but you don't want to deal with seeing Eric Roberts in the film, go ahead and head over and watch A Talking Cat. That's my suggestion for you.
Yep.
Yeah, there are people named Hero and Villain.
Yeah.
Although in the movie it's spelled Villain I-A-N and not A-I-N.
Yeah, you see a tombstone and it's Villain, but everyone says Villain.
Yeah.
Yeah, the names in this movie are wild. There's a woman who is credited on IMDb as Devillia Deville. Mm-hmm. I don't remember her at all. I don't know if she actually made the final cut.
How did someone get cut from this movie?
That's a great question. So, yeah, we've got people named the Reaper, the Major, Paris Hero, Father Fernando, Danny Hero, Judy, Francesca, Florence, and another, Fabiana Farisi. They are three sisters who are all assassins. There's, Samson Slade is one of them. Father Jacob is one of them. Yeah, you got Finch Firestarter Franklin. It's a good time. I think it's good when you have fun with your character names. Not enough people do that.
You're right. We should have more fun instead of just doing real names.
Instead of doing comedy. Okay, so the plot. We're ready?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess stop me if I missed something.
Okay.
So there's a couple that run towards an explosion, and then the rest of the movie happens, and then there's narration over everything else that happens. The explosion never comes up again, and we were also unsure who the couple was, but
Yeah, we didn't go back and look.
no,
But
there's an explosion.
yeah. Sorry, real quick.
Yeah.
I do know who Devilia DeVell is now.
Oh?
She's one of the dancers at the strip club.
They gave her a name.
They gave her a name.
That's world building.
Yep. New George Lucas?
Okay, great.
Sorry, back to the plot.
So there's an explosion.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, Luke and Lauren Loveday talk in a bar about possibly getting divorced. They establish that they've been together for 10 years, but Lauren feels like Luke isn't manly enough for her now.
Which, maybe you haven't, and I'm sorry, but I'm going to interrupt you.
That's fine.
Her opinion of him not being manly enough is further proven to her because he suggests that they get marriage counseling to help work on their marriage.
Yeah.
And she's like, you woman. Like,
Yeah, she's like, this is not the man that I married who wants to work on our relationship. You get your eyebrows threaded or something.
yeah,
like,
you get manicures and
Yeah.
stuff. And it's just like,
They also
you
say
upset that your husband wants counseling?
that
He wants to improve?
he wants counseling and he has personal hygiene. Boo.
Man, those British people are wild.
Yeah. The timeline of this movie is also wild in general, and we'll get into that later. But with their relationship, they keep saying over and over again that they've been together for 10 years, but then they say that Lauren says, I'm not the same girl that you married at, or like, I'm not the same 19-year-old girl that you married or something. And then they also say later that Luke is like, he's 40, but he doesn't know how to drive.
Uh-huh.
So it's just like,
Oh, did they? Yeah, well, yeah.
so unless is he older than her?
He's older. That's it.
All right.
That's obvious. I mean, why are you even questioning?
World building. So anyway, okay, they're getting divorced. While they're talking, a young American guy comes up to the table and wants to buy Lauren a drink. Luke gets mad at him. Lauren says the guy has a small penis for some reason, and the guy responds by taking his pants off and showing her. This makes Luke angry, and he starts punching the kid. Then a bar fight breaks out, and Lauren helps Luke target the American. Paramedics eventually arrive and declare the kid dead.
Yep.
They beat him to death.
Yeah, and the bar is full, and everyone watches, including the giant buff man who we later find out is related to the couple.
He's Lauren's brother, and he doesn't
and they just all watch, and they're like,
I'm also pretty sure it's a different bar.
No.
It's the same one? Okay. Anyway, another bar comes up later. So Luke and Lauren are arrested, but then they get released on grounds of self-defense.
which is
Fine.
the police are portrayed realistically,
Yeah.
really accurate. It's
Spot on. Yeah. The good thing about this movie being the way that it is we do have plenty to talk about with it.
yeah, and this is gonna be too long of an episode.
Yeah.
We gotta speed through this.
Well, listen, it's our end of year episode. We gotta leave them on a note. So meanwhile in New York, there's a quote unquote great man named Michael Hero, and he's mourning the death of his grandson Jack, the kid that got beat up. There's several scenes going over Michael's history. He was a street orphan who got rich. and then his wife died. He's also got a rocky relationship with his son, Paris. Paris is cut off from Michael because he's a disappointment with no work ethic and a coke habit. Michael also adopted Danny, who is the one that's narrating the movie's events, and who has maybe one actual speaking line during the movie.
And he's British.
And it, like, I thought maybe Danny would be mute or something, or it's just like a weird thing because he does not speak, but we hear his narration. But there's literally just one part where he's like, "I'm sorry, Papa," or
He's got like 2 or 3 parts where like we actually see him speaking, because there's like he says the "I'm sorry, Papa," and later he kneels and says something.
So Michael decides he can't let Jack's death go unpunished and wants to put out a bounty on Luke and Lauren. He sends Danny and his head of security, the Major, to Don Salvatore Piazza, who has assassin contacts. Piazza promises to send his best man on the job. Cut to a guy at a nightclub in Germany gunning down everyone in the room and smiling as he does it. He's Piazza's best man, and he's known as the Reaper. We see Luke and Lauren, who have decided not to get divorced, in a grocery store, and the Reaper is watching them from down the aisle. The Reaper approaches the couple and pulls out his gun. Luke freaks out, the two panic, and the Reaper slips on the wet floor next to a woman mopping and drops the gun. Lauren picks it up and shoots the Reaper.
Waka waka.
They're arrested again, with the police saying they can't offer any protection, and then they're let go again.
The police,
due to self-defense.
Yep, the police, like we said, portrayed
spot on,
real good.
Yeah.
Say we know that the guy who tried to kill you was a professional.
He's a professional hitman,
but we can't offer you any protection.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Good luck with that. Yeah. Also love how much promo they have in this movie of this UFC fighter man, and he dies within about 5 minutes
of introducing him.
Yeah. Yeah. Piazza is embarrassed about the Reaper's failure, so he puts out the word for a $1 million bounty on the Love Days. I wasn't sure if Michael or Mr. Pizza put out the $1 million.
That's a great question.
It doesn't matter. I think. But yeah. So the next half hour of the movie is introducing all the assassins that are now going after Luke and Lauren.
Seriously. A half hour.
We timed it.
Of narration.
Yeah. Highlights include a guy who joined ISIS, a guy with a big hat who seems religiously motivated, a bald man who can kill up to a mile away, a weird little arsonist guy, and 3 sisters in tiny outfits who inherited their dad's crime business.
The guy who can assassinate someone up to a mile away, I think, doesn't know what a mile is.
They keep showing him real close to the scene of the crime.
30 yards.
And every time he is in his car, he's using the car door as like a support for his gun, but his headlights are on.
Yeah.
And he's just 30 yards away pointing a giant gun at these people, and this is
I think he's just, he's British, so he knows what a kilometer is. He thinks a mile sounds more impressive.
Yeah.
And he's just like, "Oh yeah, this looks like a mile. That seems good.
I'm John Lennon." Yeah, these are fun cast of characters. That it's it takes so long because there's so much narration, there's so much unnecessary information about their backstories, where like you see the guy who joined ISIS and he is in somewhere in the Middle East holding people hostage, and then the narration is just Danny who keeps saying like, yeah, this guy converted to Islam, he joined ISIS, and then ISIS fell, and now he's a gun for hire, and this guy is just casually shooting people while this is happening.
He's got like 4 people tied up on their knees with bags over their heads.
Yeah.
A gun that's very loud.
Yeah.
He shoots one, and no one reacts.
Yeah.
They just stay completely still. And then every time he shoots one of the hostages, they just, the actors, squat down and lean over.
Yeah.
They're not, crumpling. They're just like, okay. It's time that I go down.
Someone yelled bang off camera, and now I have to die. Yeah, I also realized that they just leave him. Like, he doesn't die in this movie. There's just
Oh.
he's a loose thread, so he's still out there to this day. Yeah, so the movie spends a lot of time on one specific hitman, Justin Villain. Justin met his wife Valerie when she hired him to kill her abusive husband. The two got together and also became work partners. We see them riding a horse on a beach together and then shooting a guy sitting in the sand. One day, Justin comes home and Valerie tells him she went to the doctor, and it's bad.
It's real bad.
It's real bad.
Okay. First, every sentence she has, she ends it with the other character's name. She's like, I went to the doctor today, Justin. I'm not going to be able to fulfill my promise to you, Justin. I'm not going to be able to give you a son, Justin.
Yeah. Which at first, when she was like, I went to the doctor, and he was like, for your headaches. Also, cannot tell what accents either of these characters have. I think they're supposed to be near New Jersey-ish. But yeah, and I thought she was going to tell him that she was pregnant.
Yeah.
And then she's like, it's bad. He's like,
it's real bad. He was like, how bad?
And she goes, it's real bad. And then there's like a solid 30 seconds of just like nothing happening. Like no one says anything. It's supposed to be that her character is struggling to tell him this, but just like that's how a real conversation would go. You gotta pick up the pace on this movie.
And then she says, I've got 6 months. A year. And then she just starts apologizing. Oh, this conversation begins. Sorry.
He walks in the door. Honey, I'm home.
She says, I have something important to talk about. And he says, whatever it is, my answer is I love you.
Yeah.
Okay. She says, I've got 6 months. I've got a year. She starts crying. She says, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Justin. I'm sorry, Justin. Justin.
I'm never going to see you again.
And then he just goes, I love you.
Yeah.
I love you. I love you.
It's a really powerful scene. So she has 6 months left to live, and then we cut to Justin visiting Valerie's grave with, I guess, her last name spelled wrong, and then that grave happens to be right next to the grave of Michael's wife, and then they talk a little bit, and he's like, "We're all born to die, son," or something like that, which like, if you were a hitman who loved your wife so hard and then she died and someone in a cemetery was like, we're born to die, wouldn't you just shoot that man immediately? That's a terrible thing to say to someone.
Yeah. I also want to break this part down because Eric Roberts says we're born to die.
Yeah.
And then
Justin
says, what's the point of being born then?
Yeah.
Eric Roberts just told you.
The point is to die.
It's to die.
Yeah. And then he says, it's to find your purpose.
So which is it, Eric Roberts?
Yeah.
Eric Roberts didn't write the script.
No.
Whatever director-writer who wrote this just thought,
we'll get there.
We're
Yeah.
born to die. Sounded cool. And then wrote himself into a wall that was like, no, it works. But no, it's terrible. It's hard to single out terrible dialogue in a movie that has maybe the worst dialogue of any movie.
So, yeah.
But this one just bothers me so much because it really is like, we're born to die. What's the point then?
You just said. Yeah. Even if it's bad, commit to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the dialogue of this movie is rough. There is a filmmaker that we know who we cannot say what his name is because it's a guy that we know in real life or like went to school with in real life who doesn't make great stuff.
Correct.
But this feels like in the exact same tone that he writes in.
Yep.
And it is wild when you just like keep saying words. You keep saying so many words.
Yeah.
That just like maybe sound good or whatever. And it's just like it all blends together. Like I couldn't even pay attention to what the narration was actually saying out loud because it's just
words.
It's kind of like
Sounded like ChatGPT.
Yeah, this guy just like went and did like thesaurus on every single word just to make it seem like smart, and it doesn't. it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And everyone sounds like that because
It's more
no one is differentiated. No one's voice is differentiated besides saying, I love you, Justin.
It's more shocking to see that people keep making these kinds of movies, and they somehow get funding.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. Anyway, Valerie is dead.
Rip.
Yeah. So Justin gets a call about the $1 million bounty, but he's so upset about losing his wife that he decides to help the couple instead because he doesn't want love to die.
Yep.
He answers the phone and he like gets the information about the couple or whatever, and he goes, "Are they in love? What am I saying? They've been together for 10 years. Of course they are."
That is the funniest line in a movie with funniest lines. I mean,
Yeah.
people are married for way longer than that and not in love.
Yeah.
So it's just like,
Yeah. It's just it would have made more sense if they were like, this is a newlywed couple or
Yeah.
whatever, and then yeah.
yeah.
Whatever. So Justin decides to help them because he wants love to live.
But they don't know he's helping.
They don't know
who he is.
Yeah, and he doesn't know that they are on the brink of divorce.
And now that it's been over 30 minutes since we've seen Luke and Lauren.
Let's get back to the plot.
Luke and Lauren.
Luke and Lauren decide to go to her brother, Tony the Atomic Bull McCall, for protection. We also get an extended scene of Tony's backstory where he was a football player. He was some sort of sports guy. He got rich. He bought his local pub with his wife, but they were making out too much to serve drinks, so he hired someone else to run the bar for him.
Happens.
All of this information is shared in the movie.
Yes.
It is unnecessary.
It's told through narration.
Yes. Yeah. This is the exact opposite of show, don't tell. So anyway, they drink together in the pub that Tony owns, and then all the assassins are closing in outside. Tony stops the arsonist guy from detonating a bomb, but then he gets shot by the ISIS guy as Luke and Lauren drive away. This is the last time we see the ISIS guy, because he says the line that's in the trailer of, "You can run for now, but you can't hide."
Yeah.
And then that's the last we see of his character. So Luke and Lauren get back to their home with a plan to pack some things before getting on the road. They argue again about getting divorced before both collapse on the bed and fall asleep.
And there's also a cat named Rambo.
They have a cat, yeah. Which there was more of that cat in the movie. Later that night, the guy with the big hat, cuts down their front door with a chainsaw. He gets to the bedroom where the Lovedays are hiding, but before he shoots them, he gets shot by Justin Villain.
Who was in the curtains?
Classic move.
The Lovedays obviously heard the chainsaw.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, a hitman decided chainsaw was the best approach. So they hid under the bed, and Chainsaw Man walks in.
Yeah.
And then he's about to check under the bed, and then out from the curtains,
Justin Villain shoots him. Yep. So Justin tells the Lovedays to hide while he protects them. They ask who he is, and all he says is an angel of love, or something along those lines. Justin shoots the three sisters assassins, and then Luke...
They're there too.
Yeah, they're there. They show up. And then Luke and Lauren get in their car again, leaving Justin behind. Somewhere in all of this, Paris has also decided to join in the hunt for the people who killed his son. He tells the major he's doing it to make his dad proud, but Michael believes Paris is just in it for the reward money. Paris meets up with Bob Black to buy a gun and cocaine, which he can barely pay for. This is the only scene that the BAFTA award-winning actor is in, and they use it in the trailer. It's just an extended shot of him walking through a door, and they're like, "We got a BAFTA winner."
My guess is in the script, Bob Black had an entire 10-minute exposition scene as well, like every other character.
And he said, "I'm not going to do that."
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can have me for one day.
Yeah. So the couple drives to a seedy hotel to hide. They have a weird exchange with the receptionist, who eventually gives them a room. I didn't really know how to describe
I don't
this.
want to even talk about the receptionist scene. It was just so gross and dumb in every way.
Because she's eating while she's talking to them, and she's like making all these innuendos and
Very
stuff.
crass. If you want to watch it,
I
Go
guess.
find it, I guess, but it really is not worth anybody's time.
Yeah.
This is the most hostile I've been on a film that we've watched, I think.
Listen, I agree. I'm right there with you. So Lauren falls asleep again. Luke is more paranoid and he stays awake. And then the bald assassin tracks him to the hotel where he kills the receptionist and finds the Loveday room. He knocks, saying he's hotel staff, and tries to get them to open the door. Before they left their house, Justin told them, "There's a tracker on your car.
Yep.
That's how they found you."
Yep.
And then they take that same car to a hotel.
Yep.
And then these more assassins come.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the Lovedays are not smart. And then the bald guy is at the door, and then Justin comes out from down the hallway with his gun out, pointing at bald guy. But before he can shoot him, then Paris gets behind Justin and shoots Justin. And then Luke knocks out the bald guy, and Paris drags everyone inside the hotel room. He then calls the Major to let him know that he has the couple hostage. The Major, Michael, and Danny all get on a plane to meet Paris.
Yep.
So many names.
Yep.
Paris talks to the Lovedays, telling them that he's Jack's dad and they killed his son. Luke apologizes. They all kind of move on.
Paris doesn't
pretty
actually
quickly.
care about his son. He's there for the money so he can buy cocaine. That was all in his establishing story.
Yeah, but he the conversation that he has with Luke is very silly because Paris says yeah, that kid you killed was actually my son. And then Luke is like, "Oh, I didn't know he was your son. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
That's terrible." And then Paris is just like, "I don't really know him that well." And that's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they move on. Justin is bleeding out on the floor. They continue to talk through the night as they wait for Michael to arrive, and the police begin to surround the hotel because some guests found the receptionist dead.
Yes. And the police, like we keep saying, portrayed very well.
Mm-hmm.
The police are in regular police vehicles, the British police, and they come out with giant guns and ski masks.
Yeah.
Which, as
Is
we all know,
normal for British police.
normal for British police.
Yeah. So Luke and Lauren agree again that they don't want to get divorced. Paris is surprised because they're clearly so in love. As they're talking about their divorce and everything, it just cuts to Justin's face and his eyes are halfway open where he's just bleeding out, but it's also a "you've got to be kidding me"
Yeah.
neutral expression. It's also
I don't know if it was meant to be funny, but it was very
But
funny.
Justin is the funniest character in this. So Paris tells them about Jack's mom, who is a stripper named Unicorn that he seems to have had real feelings for. Paris asks Justin if he's ever been married, and Justin talks about Valerie's death. Paris is so sad for Justin, and he hugs him. As he does, Justin pulls him to the ground, and Lauren grabs Paris's gun. Justin tells her to shoot, and she does, just as the police break down the door. And then I broke down all the events that happened next.
Before we get to the events that happened,
Yeah.
when Justin pulls Paris down to the ground,
Yeah.
Paris says something along the lines of, "No, don't! Stop!" Don't do that! Hey!
Stop it.
Yeah, so now we can go. Police have broken down the door.
Okay, so Lauren shoots Paris as Justin holds him, which kills both of them because the bullet goes through.
Yep.
The police shoot Lauren since she has just killed someone in front of them. Luke stands in front of Lauren as she gets shot, and then the bald guy, who was also conscious at this point, also shoots Luke with a secret gun that he had. He kills Luke, and the police kill the bald guy. And then Michael, Danny, and the Major show up and see the chaos, and Michael repeats, "What have I done?" as Danny's narration says something about, "This is a tragedy."
Says something about whatever.
I blocked it out.
Yeah. But Eric Roberts says, "What have I done?" And he's crying, supposedly, and he's supposed to be emotional, but it's more like, "What have I done? What have I done, He-Man?" It's just...
It does. It really sounds like...
It's some of the worst acting I've seen from a bad actor.
He goes, "What have I done?" in a pretty normal voice, and then it's the script said that he was supposed to scream or something,
Yeah.
and he's like, "This is the best that I will give you." What have I done? And then the movie thankfully ends.
Yeah. This movie is also in Eric Roberts' sitting era. He does actually walk around and stand, but most of the film he's sitting, even in the cemetery.
Yeah.
Like, he's in a chair, like an ornate chair in the cemetery.
And it's one of the first shots that we see of him, so it's
Yeah.
kind of like, is he sick? Is
I mean,
he...
Eric Roberts, I think, had a stroke. But
Well, then that makes sense for Eric to
like,
be sitting.
it's just funny in the cemetery.
Yeah.
Where it's not a wheelchair.
No, it's like a fancy picnic chair.
Wooden, like,
Yeah.
it's...
Yeah. The phones in this movie are also wild, because, like, everyone has rotary phones at home, and then he also has a ornate rotary phone that has, like, an eagle on it or something. Yeah. The set design tried something, at least. So things that stuck out.
It's bad.
It's bad.
It's real bad.
Yeah. That's
It's real bad, Justin.
Justin. It's real bad. The narration is almost constant. There's a couple of things with, like, Luke and Lauren leaving their house and that kind of thing where it's like I was aware of, like, oh, we haven't heard the narrator in a little while.
Yep.
But with that good half-hour chunk of introducing characters, it's just constantly Danny speaking over everything. They also don't establish how Danny knows all of this about everyone, but every single character is given a backstory, and you are told what that backstory is, even the major.
Yep.
And yeah.
All of the deaths at the end is very much the what you say scene.
That SNL sketch.
Yeah. So that's fun.
Yeah. Some technical aspects. There's lots of shots that are just out of focus.
Yeah, I think they tried to shoot on anamorphic lenses, which are harder to keep in focus. But it was to the point of you aren't even trying.
Yeah.
Like, it was just rough.
Yeah. I was looking, and their cinematographer is like normally the first assistant camera on the other movies that they've done, and then like in her filmography in general, then she's normally first AC or a focus puller. So like I feel like in that way then she would know what to do, but as a DP I guess you're not really going to be touching the camera as much. Maybe. So
there's tons of terrible stock footage.
Yeah.
And quite a few airplane taking off landing shots.
There's several of those. There's a couple like drone shots where it's pretty clear that like they needed specific footage because it's a lot of like following Luke and Lauren's car, and then they turn and they show the city or whatever. But there's always a van that's following behind Luke and Lauren's car, so we're like, there's the production van. Yeah, everyone is wearing the same clothes the entire time, so it's really hard to tell how long this movie takes place for. There's a lot of time jumps where we were like, when did Valerie die? How much time has passed from Jack's death to putting out the call for all the assassins? Just because we saw so much of Justin's life, it was pretty confusing. There's a whole scene where we see Justin with a handgun and then like a police riot shield going into a church.
Yep.
And then three priests turn around with machine guns and they start shooting at him.
Yeah.
They say something. Doesn't matter. No. And then Valerie comes out and kills the priests and saves him. And it's like, is this a dream sequence? Yeah. Is this a thing that happened?
That's probably the most confusing scene of the movie.
Yeah. Because it comes after we saw her grave, and then I kind of think it happened after Justin got the phone call.
Yeah, it might.
So it's a weird scene and then a weird location in the movie for that scene.
It's also so dumb. Just in this, like, he's got a riot shield. He walks up. He doesn't really wait. He just immediately ducks down behind the riot shield, and then the priests slowly turn around and then start shooting.
Yeah. He didn't get...
He's just like... barely covered by this riot shield that is also bulletproof.
Apparently, yeah. And then he didn't like go for cover in the pews or anything. They were just like, oh, it looks sick as if he's in the middle of the aisle. And yeah. Yeah. Yeah, a solid chunk of this movie is just introducing all the assassins. It felt like the Suicide Squad, but extended, of just introducing everyone.
And that also is like what had a part in the confusion of the timeline. It's like they kill the kid in the bar 6 months later.
Yeah.
They do a bunch of these like exposition dumps on each assassin with time flashbacks.
Yeah.
And then there's like a few times where it's like a year later.
Yeah.
6 months later. And it's just like, okay, but when is
now?
When is now?
Yeah. And then the biggest question that we had while watching the movie is, who is the protagonist?
Yeah.
And the conclusion that we came to is no one.
I don't think anybody. Now,
Yeah.
I do think describing this movie now, it makes it sound like the Lovedays are the protagonist.
I think they just happen to be in the most scenes.
But it doesn't mean that they're the protagonist.
Yeah. So my theory, my game theory, is that Mr. Eric Roberts will agree to things for money, and that's how a career works. But he will agree to be in things.
Should try that.
But I think him, and then the BAFTA dude, and then the UFC fighter, like the people who do, like, we're making fun of him, but like Eric Roberts does have some credits and stuff, and he's clearly working a lot. So like they have very limited availability that they could get him to agree to. The log line focuses on Michael Hero. So I feel like they were originally trying to make Michael the protagonist, and that's what Danny is telling you, that this is a story about Michael through the narration. But I feel like Eric Roberts just said no to a bunch of stuff, or is like, here's how much you have me for. So they shot what they could with him, and then maybe that's why there's so much narration, is like, well, let me just tell you what's happening as we string a bunch of scenes together to maybe make a plot. Like,
I understand that a lot of funding is like reliant on having a name for a movie, but I don't understand why you would hire Eric Roberts.
he has a name.
Now, his acting aside,
yeah,
in all of his terrible movies that he's in.
What have I done?
What have I done? We are privy to insider knowledge. Being in the film industry and working on movies and having friends that work on movies. Every time I talk to someone who has worked with Eric Roberts on a movie, it's Eric Roberts was terrible on set. He was mean to people. He was rude. So
allegedly, don't sue us, Mr. Roberts. We know you're a long-time listener.
First time sewer. So it's like, it just feels like kind of common knowledge to me in the film scene of just like, hey, I'm thinking of getting Eric Roberts. Do you think that's a good idea? Then someone should be like, no. But that also is dependent on us being kind people.
Yeah.
And I have the sinking suspicion, and I'm going to make the assumption, that the people who make this film are not the most considerate people.
I have found some Facebook posts that might back up your theories.
Well, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
But I'm going to argue against myself and say they did give the stripper a name.
she's and that's feminism.
Production fact.
Yeah, anything else that we want to talk about?
No, I want to stop talking about this movie. Can't wait to give it a 4 out of 4.
Yeah, so I have found very specific and very limited information about this movie. So here's the best that I've got.
Yeah.
It was released, number one,
Whoa.
It had a UK and Ireland digital release on June 5th, 2023, and then it had a US release sometime in September.
Yep.
It has an hour and 49-minute runtime. It has no official rating. I'm going to assume R.
Sure.
There's a lot of swearing and some nudity with the strippers and stuff. It does not have
A thermometer?
tomato meter rating from Rotten Tomatoes, but it does have a 92% popcorn meter of audience reviews. We saw that paired because that comes up on Paramount
Peacock.
or Peacock, like the popcorn meter rating with the trailer playing at the same time, and it was like, did they get the whole crew to just spam reviews? And then it's also a 4.1 out of 10 on IMDb.
Which is also way too high.
Yeah. So it's only got one critic review on Rotten Tomatoes. You need to have a certain number for them to have like an official percentage. And this was a 1 out of 5 star review from The Guardian, which did say that there are a few sparky performances. The reviewer signaled out the actor that played Lauren and then the hotel receptionist.
Oh, God.
Yeah. As just like, I guess these are strong characters, or they committed to the bit, basically. And then there's a quote from the end paragraph of the review says, but too much of this plays like a bunch of kids making a throwaway home movie with characters named Detective Kojak and Detective Columbo, and characters wearing the same outfit in every scene they're in, regardless of the fact that it's a different day. A pretty fair review.
Yeah.
You know, they gave it a 1 and out of 0.5 and stuff. And then the audience review selection on Rotten Tomatoes, the reviews that I found are only 5. It only showed me 5 of them, and they all range from 0.5 to 2.5 stars. And it's all some variation of it's a waste of time. But then when you look at the popcorn meter percentage, it says that it has over 100 reviews, and that's what it's pulling from. So I don't know
where those are.
I don't know where that 92% is coming from.
Yeah.
This has been at a bunch of festivals. I don't know if that has any impact. I don't I started reading about the popcorn meter, and then I was like, I have other things to do today. So I stopped.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but it's weird enough that I do want to look into the popcorn meter, unfortunately.
Just don't believe every popcorn meter that you see.
I guess not. Yeah, reviews are bad. And then Saints and Savages is a production company that made this. They do not have a website that I can tell, but they do have a Facebook page. And June 13th, 2023, they posted about that they said, wonderful review by the esteemed The Spectator, the beacon of truth in today's propagandized British media. The Spectator objectively reviewed the film based on merit and truth, unlike the working-class white man-hating Guardian, who reviewed the film without watching it and based their verdict on the so-called political persuasion of the filmmakers, reviewing every film that they have ever made 1 star in an attempt to silence their voices.
Yeah, no, I'm not surprised that this is a right-leaning production company.
Yeah. Besides all of that, it is objectively wrong just based on the fact that the Guardian review signaled out the hotel receptionist.
Which is near the end of the film, so they definitely watched.
This movie. And then there's another Facebook post that's from that same day that's highlighting a different positive review they got. And then it says, if you're not overly woke and open-minded, you will love this film. If you are offended by everything, you will probably be offended by this too.
Nothing in this movie offended me outside of sucking at making movies.
I know, that's the thing that shocker, I'm more left-leaning than this production company seems to be. Yeah. And that's just what always bothers me about you're too easily offended and that stuff. It's like, I'm not offended. That's the wrong word to use for the feeling that this gives me.
I'm bored.
Yeah. There's nothing there's nothing controversial in this.
No.
There's some weird racial tones, or the ISIS stuff is
the ISIS stuff is weird, but it wasn't anything that I was like, this is overtly offensive.
Yeah, it's just bad. And then there are multiple reviews also from their Facebook page that they've posted saying that this is Eric Roberts' best performance in years.
What have I done?
So that's true. We can agree on that. I have
a little perspective.
yeah.
Eric Roberts was in a student short film at IU the year after we left.
Yeah.
Like, he will do anything. If you have money,
Yeah.
he will do anything.
Those, what I said, 37 movies that
Yeah.
are just from 2023, those are not including short films or TV appearances.
Yeah, that checks out.
He gets around.
I'm also not saying the short film that was shot at our school is bad. I have not seen it. I'm just saying
He's available.
he is available.
I could not tell you what the budget of this movie is. One review that was on Rotten Tomatoes guessed like 200,000 British pounds. And like, sure, that feels right, I guess.
Yeah.
There's explosions. You got people with credits. You got a lot of moving parts that go into this. So like, yeah, maybe. And then there's no box office for this. It was a digital release only. Could not find information about like where it was in streaming numbers. I'm gonna assume pretty under the radar. Again, according to their Facebook page, one of their previous movies was in the top 10 British movies streaming at one point. So, good for them. Production timeline? No idea. It happened. Awards? It's got 2 nominations on IMDb for Best Screenplay and Best Feature Film from the National Film Awards UK. And then IMDb doesn't list the winners for those categories. It lists the winners for every other category. And this movie does have a tagline, which we haven't had in a little while. With a bounty on your head, you're better off dead. You know what they say.
It's that classic, like, nursery rhyme.
Yeah. Classic method of making a tagline. So, as we've mentioned, there is another 2023 movie called Hitmen, and then there's also Hitman starring Glenn Powell, which Wikipedia listed as a 2023 movie, so I guess a loophole if we want to, because it premiered at Venice, I think. And then it was on Netflix streaming in 2024.
Yeah.
And then there's also a 2020 Hitmen movie starring Mel and Sue, the former hosts of the Great British Bake Off.
Oh.
That sounds fun. I
Yeah.
just saw that and I was like, yes, I would love that so much more.
There's also all of the adaptations of the Hitman video game movies.
Yeah. So listen, if this genre is for you, you got a deep well.
And if you're not some woke liberal, then this is for you.
If you're
All
open-minded.
right? If you're open-minded and don't get offended, then this is for you. Okay?
Okay.
Open-minded and you don't get offended.
Yeah. This is a really good combo with you wearing a sweater vest.
Yeah, I know. Like, if someone who made this movie sees, oh my god, my movie got reviewed on a podcast, that's so cool, I'm gonna watch it. And then they're gonna see us trashing their terrible movie.
Yeah.
They're just gonna see you with your bleached hair and me in my tiny little Argyle sweater vest, and they're gonna be like, oh, well, this is just woke liberals.
This is part of the agenda, yeah.
Yeah, propaganda.
But we're not propagandized British media. So.
No, we're American.
Woo!
But we still hate the working white class.
We still hate working white men.
And I can say that because I am one.
So this comes from the mind of writer and director Sebastian Michael. And he also has another 2023 movie called Abomination. So that's on our list.
Man, he's just naming the movies, quality of the movies.
Yeah. His other films include 2021's The Bezonians, and they have many of the same cast members repeated. The actress that played Lauren seems to be in kind of like everything that he does. I watched too many trailers of his movies, and she's in all of them. So, you know, he has like, let me find his IMDb again.
Bazonians also has Vinnie Jones.
It does.
So.
He's got 19 wins and 20 nominations on his IMDb. The Bazonians has 16 wins and 16 nominations.
It's got Marina Sirtis. Marina, what are you doing?
Yeah. The Bazonians is a pretty similar thing. It's the logline for that is: in the Bazonian social club in North London, a group of down-and-out scheme, plot, and dream of becoming rich and breaking out of the monotony of their dreary and financially impotent lives. That's the language that I mean, of like monotony of their dreary and financially impotent lives. Just say like, they want money. They want to make a better life for themselves. There's other ways that you could say that doesn't feel as pretentious.
Well, this is the least woke way of saying it. So.
Listen, you got me there. Yeah, so then the production company Saints and Savages was founded by Sebastian Michael and John Pavlakos, who is a producer who's on all of these movies too. And then according to gov.uk, which gave very specific information about the financials of Saints and Savages, they incorporated in December 8th, 2015, and they were previously operating as Macho Movies Limited from the 8th of December 2015 to the 1st of August 2018. And then listed on a site, it said that their aim is to bring production and distribution in the UK to the 21st century.
Because the British haven't made anything since the 1900s?
Yeah.
Huh.
Because of the propagandized media.
Fascinating.
Yeah. And then at one point, again, according to gov.uk, at one point the company had over 1.5 million in British pounds in capital. And then I kind of wondered if they used all of that to make a series of movies, like just back to back to back.
Yeah.
Because now it doesn't seem like they have that. The last information that they had listed was that Michael and Pavlakos are both resigned from the company, and it doesn't seem like there's an active company agent, and that happened in 2020. And also, their accounts are overdue.
Solid.
So, Savas, I think you got to pay a couple bills.
That's propaganda.
I feel weird that I know that.
You can't share that propaganda.
Really?
Okay? Because you're pushing down the working white man, which he's not.
Yeah, and then just a weird little fact that I don't know what to do with. The executive producer for Hitmen is Gustavo Restrepo. He is the executive producer on all of the Saints and Savages productions that's listed on IMDb, except for 2016 Smoking Guns, where he was the head runner.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Now this is also all allegedly. But part of that Guardian review suggested that the movies are so bad that maybe this is a money laundering scheme.
I mean, I had that thought.
The fact that the head runner suddenly becomes an executive producer, because it's just, that's his only credit, and then it goes to executive producer and everything else.
Yeah.
Because I looked at the producers list, because I was like, why isn't John Pavlakos, the co-founder of this, an executive producer? And then it's just this guy. I don't know. I don't know.
Just gotta stop sharing the propaganda.
Yeah. So yeah, and then I don't know what the state of Saints and Savages is right now. They have no upcoming projects listed on IMDb. Their Facebook page hasn't been updated since October of 2023. And then, as I mentioned, they're both, Michael and Pavlakos are both listed as resigned on the UK forums since 2020. So, but then it also says that like they're both like considerable shareholders in the company, or they have sway of the company and they're active. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because also like these movies came out post 2020, so I don't know. All I'm saying is the money is weird on this stuff.
Sure is.
and I don't want to look into it anymore, but I will look into the popcorn meter.
Yeah. Well, let's rate it.
Yeah.
Now, I just want to get into it.
Yeah.
I gave it a 0.
Yeah.
There's no point in going through I gave it the worst score.
I also gave it the worst score.
Great.
Yeah.
There's no point in telling you what the other options of scoring is because we're not.
Because we're not. At one point, I was like, is it worthy of a 1 because I laughed really hard? No. Because
It wasn't trying to make you laugh.
It was when she was saying it's bad.
It's real bad.
It's real bad.
Justin.
So, this movie is bad.
Yeah.
It's real bad. Other 2023 movies that we've watched, or movies.
Other movies that we've
talked about.
Yeah.
Whatever.
We should probably change it so it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, what else have we watched recently?
We together watched Hundreds of Beavers.
We did.
That was very good.
Mm-hmm.
It's very funny.
It is. Would recommend.
I would recommend that one.
It is hard to describe
So
to
just
people.
watch it.
Yeah. Looney Tunes-esque.
Yeah.
Charlie Chaplin-ish.
Yeah.
People in costumes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
It is, yeah.
So that's what we've watched.
Yeah.
Follow us on places. Yeah, social media. You know, hit us up. If you leave a question or a comment, we'll talk about it on another podcast, VHS.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, if you get in the comments, let us know that we're too woke and just propagandizing. We'll take that feedback. We'll talk about it on VHS.
Yeah, like we mentioned, this is our last episode of 2024, so happy holidays, etc.
Mm-hmm. You can't, no, that's too woke. You can't say holidays.
Have a winter, and we'll see you in the new year.
Bye, see ya.
Bye.